Welcome back to the Mind Shift podcast, where we explore how the world's most interesting people think, work, and change the world. Today's episode, how Elon Musk thinks differently.
Elon Musk, the man behind Tesla, SpaceX, and even the idea of living on Mars. But here's what's fascinating. He's not just building companies. He's literally rewiring the way people think about the future.
Exactly. Everyone talks about what he does, but very few talk about how he thinks. So today we're diving deep into the mindset behind his success and maybe what we can learn from it.
You know, I read that when Elon was a kid, he used to read 2 books a day: science, physics, and even philosophy. Most kids read comics, but he read encyclopedias for fun.
That's not exactly normal behavior for a 10-year-old. But it shows early signs. He wasn't just curious, he wanted to understand everything. He taught himself computer programming at 12 and even sold a video game he made for $500.
That already tells you something about his brain. While most kids were playing games, he was building one. That's how Elon thinks. He doesn't consume, he creates. He sees the world as a system that can be rebuilt.
Yeah, and that mindset is powerful. He once said, I look at things from the first principles of physics, not by analogy. And we're going to talk about that next, because that's the secret to his problem solving.
So, first principles thinking sounds complicated, but it's really simple. Most people think by comparison, this is how it's done, or that's too expensive. But Elon breaks everything down to its most basic truth.
Exactly. Like when people said electric cars were impossible, Elon asked why. They said batteries cost too much. So he calculated the real cost of the raw materials, lithium, cobalt, nickel, and realized it didn't have to be that expensive if you built it differently. That's how Tesla was born.
And that's genius. Instead of asking, can we do this? He asks, what would it take to make this possible? That's a completely different question, one that opens doors instead of closing them.
Yeah, he doesn't accept limits. He breaks them down into logic, math, and reality, and then rebuilds the solution from scratch. That's why his ideas often look crazy at first, until they work.
After selling PayPal, Elon could have retired rich. But what did he do instead? He started SpaceX just because NASA didn't have a clear plan to go to Mars.
Most people dream of buying islands or private jets. He dreams about colonizing another planet.
Right. And when SpaceX started, it almost failed. The first 3 rockets exploded. He was almost broke. But he still went all in on the 4th one.
That 4th rocket changed everything. It succeeded, and SpaceX made history. It shows how differently he handles failure. Most people would quit after 1 or 2 failures. He treats failure as a step, not an end.
He even said, if something is important enough, even if the odds are against you, you should still do it. That's insane courage, and a very different way of thinking about risk.
Another thing about Elon, his work ethic. He works 80 to 100 hours a week. He literally sleeps in his factory when things get tough.
Yeah. During Tesla's production crisis, he slept on the floor of the factory. He said he couldn't ask his employees to work hard if he didn't do it himself.
That's extreme, but it's also why people follow him. He's in the trenches, not just giving orders from above.
And let's be honest, obsession is part of his DNA. He doesn't do things because they're easy. He does them because they're hard. He once said, you shouldn't do things because they're easy. You should do them because they're hard.
That's what separates him from most people. He's not looking for comfort, he's looking for impact.
The most fascinating part? Elon doesn't think about the next 5 years. He thinks about the next 100.
Yeah, he talks about things like brain-computer links with Neuralink, self-driving cars with Tesla, and humans living on Mars with SpaceX.
It's not just about money anymore. It's about legacy. pushing humanity forward. He even joked, "I want to die on Mars, just not on impact."
Laughs classic Elon. But it shows how his imagination doesn't stop at what's possible today. He builds for the future that doesn't exist yet.
And that's what makes his mind so rare. He doesn't adapt to the world, he designs it.
All right, let's bring it home. What can regular people, white like us, white, learn from how Elon Musk thinks?
I'd say first, question everything. Don't just accept things as they are. Ask why. Break them down. Think in first principles.
Second, don't fear failure. He failed more times than most people ever will, but each failure brought him closer to success.
And third, dream bigger. Even if your goals sound crazy, start small. But think huge. As Elon says, when something is important enough, you do it even if the odds aren't in your favor.
That's the spirit. You don't have to build rockets or cars, just adopt that way of thinking. Ask yourself, what if I tried? What if it is possible?
At the end of the day, Elon Musk is proof that your brain is your greatest tool. He didn't have a superpower. He just used his mind differently.
And maybe that's the real lesson. The future doesn't belong to the richest or the smartest. It belongs to those who think differently and refuse to give up.
You know, before we end, there's something else I've been thinking about. We talk a lot about Elon's success, rockets, cars, Mars, but not enough about how he handles doubt.
Exactly. People see him as this unshakable genius, but in reality, he's human. He said before that he feels fear just like anyone else. He just doesn't let it stop him.
Yeah, I remember in an interview he said, "I feel fear quite strongly. It's just that fear doesn't stop me." That line hit me hard, because it's not about being fearless, it's about moving forward despite fear.
That's the difference between people who dream and people who build. We all get scared. But he treats fear like a signal, not a wall. He studies it, figures out what it's trying to tell him, and then uses it to plan smarter.
Right? He doesn't freeze when things go wrong. He focuses on the data, the system, the solution. Even when the whole world thought SpaceX would fail, he didn't react emotionally. He just said, "We'll fix the problem and try again."
And that's rare. Most of us get emotional when things break. He gets analytical. He treats failure like a science experiment.
You know what's interesting? People don't often talk about his emotional side, but managing that kind of stress, being responsible for thousands of employees, billions of dollars, global expectations, that takes serious emotional strength.
Totally. He's even admitted that he's not naturally good at relaxing. He once said, "It's not fun being me. My brain is like a storm."
That's heavy. But it shows that behind the success, there's still pain, overthinking, pressure. He carries the weight of massive missions, and that pressure is real.
Yeah, but maybe that's part of what drives him. He said once, "When something is important enough, you do it even if the odds aren't in your favor." He channels stress into motion.
I think that's something we all can learn. Instead of waiting for life to calm down, maybe we should just move forward with the storm. That's what he does. He doesn't wait for the perfect time.
Exactly. He builds during chaos.
Let's talk about how Elon learns, because it's honestly fascinating. He's not just working, he's constantly learning.
Yeah, he reads a lot, but more importantly, he reads differently. He connects knowledge from completely different fields: physics, biology, coding, economics, and combines them into one idea.
That's true. He uses something called learning transfer. He learns one thing deeply and then applies it somewhere else, like how rocket engineering helped him improve battery technology, or how coding logic helps him run factories.
It's like he's building bridges between subjects. Most people stay in one box, but Elon connects all the boxes together. That's why his ideas sound futuristic, because he's pulling from everywhere.
And you know what's cool? He doesn't just read for fun, he reads to solve problems. He said once that if you give him a book and a few months, he can learn almost any subject deeply enough to build something in it.
That's wild. But it shows the way he thinks is not about memorizing, it's about understanding deeply.
Here's another question people always ask. How does Elon deal with all the hate and criticism?
Yeah, because he definitely gets a lot of that. Every move he makes is watched, judged, and debated.
He said in one interview, "When something's important enough, you should still do it even if critics don't agree." And that's exactly what he does.
He doesn't waste energy trying to convince everyone. He lets the results speak for themselves.
That's powerful, because a lot of people get stuck there. They stop building because they fear judgment.
Right. But he uses criticism as feedback, not rejection. He listens to what's useful, ignores the rest, and moves on.
That's a good rule for anyone building something new. Don't take criticism personally. Take it strategically.
When you look at the bigger picture, Elon's vision is more than cars or rockets. It's about survival. He truly believes that humans need to become a multi-planet species to survive long term.
Yeah, he once said, "There's a chance that something could happen to Earth, so we should have life insurance for humanity." That's such a crazy way to think, but also incredibly logical.
He's not building companies, he's building humanity's backup plan.
Exactly. That's what makes him different. Most people think in decades. He thinks in centuries.
It's like he's already living in 2050 while the rest of us are catching up.
But thinking differently also has a cost. He's been through burnout, failed relationships, emotional breakdowns. It's not all glory.
No, it's not. He once said, starting a company is like eating glass and staring into the abyss. That's such a dark but honest way to describe entrepreneurship.
He's right, though. Innovation comes with loneliness. When you're doing something no one's done before, no one can really understand your struggle.
Yeah, and that's what most people miss when they admire him. They see the cars and rockets, not the nights of failure, the anxiety, the public criticism.
True. But despite all that, he keeps going. That's why he's different, because his purpose is bigger than his pain.
So, after everything we've talked about, what do you think is the biggest takeaway from Elon Musk's mindset?
For me, it's simple. He's proof that thinking differently can change everything. He doesn't have a special gift. He just asks better questions, and he keeps going when everyone else stops.
I'd add one more thing. He treats imagination like responsibility. He dreams, yes, but then he builds it. That's the bridge between dreamers and doers.
Beautifully said. Maybe that's the real message for all of us. Don't wait for permission to dream big. Start building your idea, even if no one believes in it yet.
Because who knows, one day people might call you crazy too. Until your idea changes the world.
That's it for today's extended talk. If you're listening right now, remember, the world doesn't need more followers. It needs more thinkers.
Thanks for being here. Keep learning, keep questioning, and keep thinking differently.